Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, viewers. We are getting into our first conversation this morning, and we are going to be joined by the chairman of the Tobago division of the Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and that's Mr. Curtis Williams, and he's going to be joining us online. So, special good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Williams. How are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good, and morning to all your viewers and listeners and big updates. Morning to you, Mr. Julian,
Good morning. Good
and
morning.
yourself, Kandace.
Good morning indeed. And at a time like this, when you come on, the matter at hand, we just had what one would consider to be, and I have to put it as plain as it is, an embarrassing situation. In this instance for Tobago, at a time where we are all recognizing that we have to make the collective contribution to move and to drive our island in a particular direction. And I want to start from there. What do you see as that broader responsibility, whether you're an NGO, you're an association, you're representing others, you're a business entity, or you are the Tobago House of Assembly? What do you see as that key responsibility across the board for all our stakeholders that play a part in the tourism game?
Julian, and you're correct. There's some sort of collective responsibility that associations and different entities must have. Let's look at it. Even if you're having some challenges with your supplier or with your agent, as the case may be, or with your employer, there are ways and means of treating with these instances, and not the fact that things is rough on all ends, but there are ways because the ripple effect of the cruise ship industry. The cruise ship industry is very fragile industry, and these guys could change their protocols at a moment notice, and based on your reaction. By not thinking of the whole and only thinking about just a part, it could really have such a ripple effect. I was shocked of that decision made by these drivers. I know they are hurting. Probably they have funds outside, but let's look at the bigger picture. When you're dealing with tourism, you look at the bigger picture and not just your little entity there. And that ripple effect, Julian, we could have lost numerous ships because of that. And it's not gone. It's not gone at all. So we have to monitor it. I'm monitoring it. I have friends in the industry, and I'm monitoring their messages sent to me, and to just see if there's any fallout coming out from it.
And Mr. Williamson, you're someone who has quite a bit of experience in the cruise ship industry in previous jobs and so on. But can you just share with us, how are tours organized so that people can have a better understanding of what really happened there, and even how it affects not just the destination itself, but also the other businesses within Tobago?
Yeah, definitely. Candice, I'm spent 17 years in the maritime industry, and six just dealing with cruise ships, a Disney Cruise Line I worked for. And Candice, I work back of the house and front of the house, which definitely I understand what you see as a guest on board the ship, and I understand what we see as a crew or workers within the ship itself. So planning a tour is a complex and very, very tedious process. When you do cancel these tours because of issues with drivers, etc., and this ripple effect, it goes through the entire system, is not easy. Let's look at it. The Shorex manager will have all these tours. They will sell these tours beforehand, and they will be paid for, most of them, on board. And so when you're making your bookings, you will have all these done beforehand. And then suddenly you come to the destination and there's a cancellation. It's not a nice thing. It's really, really not a nice thing going forward. And the feedback to the guests would be very, very detrimental.
Is this a case where guests will now have to be, refunded by the various cruise liners that they would have paid, as you indicated, for these tours? However, there was a failure to deliver.
Yeah, definitely. The guests would definitely will be refunded. They give them on board credit as the case may be. But look further down, Julian. When you're planning a tour, remember it's not only you, just the driver moving that person from point A to point B. You have other things involved in that tour. You have all the people, the food, and all the other amenities that you may go with the tour. So those things are important as well. So it's important that we understand what's going on there, and that we play that important crucial part in that whole thing. So the whole sort of refund going through, some just cannot be refunded. Some you just have to take it as an expense and go with it.
How do you see this being corrected on the part of, well, I should say as best as possible. We saw where, notwithstanding, it wasn't directly any fault of the Tobago House of Assembly, the secretary and the division kind of springing into action, carrying on board tokens for all and so on, really expressing apologies. But from our internal arrangements here in Tobago, how do you see us seeking to correct such a challenge so that we do not have that going forward again?
Well, what I recognized, and it was good of the THA tourism division to pop in, but they I just need the assembly to have a bigger oversight on what's happening with the cruise ships once they're in port. And that means we're looking at all the security, we're looking at all the vendors and the whole aspect, but just have an oversight, a closer oversight on the deliverance of the various sectors within that whole protocol. It's important that the teacher have that bigger oversight because just one small incident can lead to a lot of disruption within the protocols.
Now, this situation also has some positive light and some silver linings, and that is the opportunity for Tobagonians themselves who may not have previously been involved to get themselves involved. And can you just share with us just some of the things that you are seeing just right off the bat and the opportunities that you are seeing for us to take up?
Well, we can clearly see, Candice, that there are definitely there are opportunities for vehicles, tour buses, and so forth. So we are asking the tourism division, Minister of Transport, if they can open up their license, the ban, so that folks can invest into these tour buses, the 12-seaters, the 24-seater tour buses. And I know it's not a hard fix because it was something that spoke about in the past. So we need some more buses on island. We don't need a set person who doing a maxi taxi to come back to do tour buses, and then you have that interlink because Candice, when the cruise ship comes and school is in operation, you know what happened. We have to split the maxis between the school and the cruise ship. Candice, that's why we need tour buses and not maxi taxi drivers per se taking guests. We need tour buses, folks who are trained and certified to do these kind of tours, and they will be able to deliver a better quality. So there are opportunities for us to get into purchasing tour buses, individual companies to purchase tour buses to assist in this development. Also, what about an agent? We lost our agent, Almandos. Miles Almandos was one of our really good agents here on island. And we don't have anyone looking to get into that field. So we have that agent have to come all the way from Trinidad and have someone representing him in Tobago. Why Tobago can develop probably two or so agents, so one work in the east. So when we have calls in Charlottesville, we have somebody there. We're able to work with us and get certain things done because cruise ships really need these agents. The agents is important and important call to deal with all issues. There are issues that you guys don't see. We fix these issues behind the scene. You only see the nice part of it. So that's why it's important that agent and being an agent is not an easy task, but it's important for the cruise ship.
Saw that yesterday, and I'm sure you would have seen the chief secretary host the press conference coming out of what were their discussions and so on. The secretaries, administrators, technical officers within the divisions and so on, projecting in terms of going forward, looking at the reality of what is now available in the context of the budget that was recently passed, and that commitment to present next week Tuesday in the House. What are your hopes? Any core areas that you're looking forward to being dealt with by this current administration in this
Well,
fiscal?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Julian, um, you and we are the members of the Tobago division. We are all excited and waiting to hear the deliverance of this plan. We're looking to see how best the construction sector could be stimulated because we know that they have been a bit slowed down in that area and the other areas that we're looking for. So we are really looking forward to that Thursday presentation. I will be glued. I might be in the house just to be there in the public gallery to get all that information because it's critical that we understand what's the plan of the assembly going forward.
Mhm. Have there been any conversations between you and the Assembly in regards to that public-private partnership going forward?
Well, we did get the 15 the 15-pound document that was been mentioned by some party. So it's a voluminous document. Our team is reviewing it presently. But we want to hear what's the overall action opportunities that the assembly have for the different stakeholders in the different areas. We see the winter season is on now for the hotels and the guests. Candice, I get in some currency I never got before. I went to the bank with one of the currency. The bank said they don't know about that currency. It was the Bank of Scotland. I don't know if you ever got the currency from that bank. But so we see businesses. The guests definitely here, and things are coming up to where it ought to be. But there's still room for improvement.
All right. We're just about heading 2 years in, and from where you sit in terms of representing business entities and so on, looking at that private sector industry within the Tobago space, how would you rate things thus far at this point?
Julian, coming out from last year was pretty much low. There was not much things happening last year. Um, we started off this year looking excited. We were looking for some possibilities. Things started to move. The wheels started to move, but then we see there's a bit of slowing down again. So we definitely looking forward to seeing what would definitely will be the plans for this next fiscal. I know it's very tough for most of us, especially those in the construction sector who have a lot of staff that have been home for quite some time. And we all eager and awaiting the small contractors. We have a lot of idle equipment sitting there. And I know the banks is there waiting. Everyone is waiting with bated breath on the plans of the assembly because it's critical in a small economy like us, a small island like us. You know how the ripple effect of anything of positive or negative affects us.
And then, of course, going ahead, I mean, I think you guys do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with the Minister of Trade to see how we can improve the manufacturing export capabilities that we have in Tobago.
Well, we just got some information that because of cabinet meeting, so she wasn't able to. She asked us to postpone because it's a critical meeting we want to have with the Minister of Trade, bringing in the Exim Ban, bringing in the Export TT, and all these players in the field to open this corridor for Tobago business. We see there's a lot of business that are getting into the micro business that are getting into manufacturing, light manufacturing, and we want to create that avenue for them. So, hence the reason why we invited the Minister of Trade and the various entities, Exim Bank, for those who need US dollars and those who are willing to explore into the newer market or urgent emerging market abroad. We're looking at export TT. So we doing our part as the Tobago division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, and we hope that the THA do their part so that when we all come together, it will make us a better whole as we go forward.
What are your projections and plans? Even if in the way of having the necessary strategic talks for looking in the direction, the chief secretary has said it repeatedly, and we know that that's one of the realities here in our Tobago space. High proportion employment within the Tobago House of Assembly. We got to move in the direction of industry, factories, and so on. Really trying to develop our private sector. Any projections on that part from the standpoint of the division in terms of continuing to make representation to assist with that movement and that thrust that is expected to happen, of course, supported by the Tobago House of Assembly?
Julian, one of the big drivers for us here on the island would be some direct investment, some direct international investment coming in. That would be a major driver for us here on the island. So we're looking forward to the plans of these direct investments. We heard about all the things bantering around. We heard about the development of Scarborough and Julian. We want to hear that the boots on the ground and the direct investment is coming in into the island. We know that the central government will need approval in certain aspects of the direct investment. So we're hoping that the different ministries give the relevant approval, whether it's the Ministry of Finance or the Office of the Prime Minister or EMA, all the approvals we need to get these direct investment going. Because if we go and seek the funding and we have all these guys here waiting to do the development and we don't get the approval, then Julian, we lose out on it big time. So we're looking for the support from the central government going forward in retreating with these direct investments.
And as we're heading into the Christmas season, I know last year wasn't the best. We had a low spending power amongst the population and so on. Are you seeing anything better or any change for this time around for the business community?
Well, we start off with that bang coming out of Carnival. It was a little bit exciting for us, and we see that a little slowing down. But I've seen a lot of visitors now. I'm seeing different faces around in Cross Point area. We've seen a lot of different faces around at some of the bars. We've seen a good bit of, again, as I said, foreign currency moving around, some spending. We appreciated what happened, but we definitely, again, as I indicated, there are room for improvement. And we want to see that up trust. I'm going to look around at the supermarkets, the mini marts, and see if there's that buzz coming around the hardware, all the renovations. I know funds is a bit low on island. It's certain folks, but we look to see that buzz. I know sometimes the buzz come later on or early on in December. I know most folks wait to the last minute to get the thing going. So we want to interview our members and see if the buzz is coming on. And we sure definitely will keep you up to date on that buzz coming.
All right, certainly, and we look forward to that because stimulating the economy here quite important in terms of keeping our business sector going and as I mentioned before, employment in relation to that private sector element. As we prepare to close this morning, any other additional information you'd like to share with the public before we close?
Well, sure. We didn't just sit idle at the chamber. We decided to do a lot of initiative, and one of the new initiatives coming soon will be the launch of the Tobago Business Advisory Service from the Tobago Division of the Chamber, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce. It's something that I'm looking forward to. It's with all great excitement, and I think the Tobago business all around from small the micro, all the business will look forward to that launch of that advisory services that we're going to offer. It will help you a lot. And we want to say thanks again for having me, and you guys have a great day.
All right. Thank you very much there for joining us here on this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. Curtis Williams there representing the Tobago division. And a critical element there, Kandace, in terms of the workings in our Tobago space. And I'm really always very hopeful that we would get to that point where the kind of efforts and investment is made. So we see that development and that growth in terms of our private sector space. It's not going to happen overnight.
No,
It's
certainly
not going to become the perfect circumstance as we may know in Trinidad based on how things are here. But we got to make efforts in that direction, especially if we want to gradually shift and move away from that kind of very heavy dependence on the government and the Tobago House of Assembly here in Tobago.
And certainly, and the business chamber has been, well, as you stated, the Tobago division, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce has been trying, and they actually do have quite a lot of support for businesses or persons who wanted to get into business and so on. And they are trying to make those connections, which is why they were trying to have that meeting with the Minister of Trade to see what can be done, because we know foreign exchange is a major challenge and it is part of what we need for building our businesses and so on. So we're looking forward to see what comes out of some of those things. Hopefully they can have that meeting soon. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but unfortunately it had to be postponed. So we're seeing where it's going to go.
And we're out of time, but one of the areas I'm really looking forward to in follow-up discussions and interviews is also hearing from the Tobago division as it relates to some of those commitments made on the part of the Minister Rohan Sinanan, when he would have held the meeting during the time of the challenges and so on. Because I keep indicating we can't only wait until the challenges occurs and then we are in crisis state. And then we have that critical meeting to determine this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to move forward. Ultimately to look at what are possible plans and projections in terms of long-term solutions so that we don't continue to be confronted and disrupted rather by the short-term effects. They will happen.
Yes.
But the question is, how do we address them? What are the alternatives? What are the possible solutions?
And a perfect example is the situation with the buses, because beyond the monetary issues, I mean, we do have a shortfall on buses on maxi taxis on the island, and it shouldn't have to wait till a large cruise ship comes for us to realize that.
Yes, and I must say, from where I sit, family base connected both to the Methodist and the Adventist, I was a bit, I couldn't get that use of the religious argument. These for me, these individuals did not pick up their feet this week. You knew forever that they are
Yes.
in the industry, and you know what happens as it relates to based on their religious commitment. So don't come and tell me now as if that's something that's new in this space and try to put them in the spotlight for people to look at the faith in a particular way. Don't do that. We know people's persuasion. I worship on a Sunday, some worship, but we worship on a Saturday, and you know that up front.
Yes.
That is not the kind of thing that you bring and you labor as one of your first or second points in terms of why you might have had the challenge. But we continue to look on, and more importantly, we're looking for the solutions that will ultimately come out of that challenge in relation to the maxis. It's one of those that concerned me, and then it confused me,
Oh
and
my
then it upset me
goodness.
for a bit, and then it confused me again as the information comes to hand. More importantly, I heard representatives even speaking at the recent town hall meeting, and we are ultimately looking forward to what will be solutions to be able to move us ahead. I had hoped that the solutions would not just heavily now bear on the Tobago House of Assembly, but it seems like that's the direction we're heading in. But ultimately, for me, these are things that we can work on and provide that support so that there's still that level of private arrangement. But of
Yes.
course, the Assembly has a responsibility to ensure that things are in place so that it
At least
doesn't
in the short
become
term.
correct, at least in the short term, so that it doesn't become an embarrassing and challenging situation here on Tobago.
And I hope people are listening and they're realizing that there are opportunities. So, for those who want to reduce your reliance on the government and the state and so on, this is one of the ways. Get involved. We had a comment when you look at the crop of maxi taxi drivers and so on, they are of a certain age. So, it's time for some of our young people to sort of take up that step.
And to get involved. We certainly got to get involved. I like that, It's a very good point. There's an opportunity. There is an opportunity out there, and let's see how we can capitalize on it. Shout outs to those joining us on the live this morning. I see Yolanda Cordner in the mix, and Nicole. I see Rodney on with us. Carol, yes, Miss Carol Fraser Davidson. Hey, Lavian Ashby. Cupid is also on with us this morning. Good morning to you. Alvin Big Doggy Douglas. Good morning to you. Donna Parks Greens Asante. Good morning to each and every one of you. I want to say thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. And at this point, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live,
Share the life, share the life.